Hi, hey, and all those other greetings, Spade Adventurers. I'm Jake Spins, welcoming you guys back to my gaming and unboxing channel, where today we have another exciting unboxing for you guys, where we're finally jumping back into the world of Sonic Jakks Pacific. I know it's been a while, and there's been so much merchandise that has come out that I haven't covered, and I'm so sorry that I haven't done this sooner. But there's been so much going on in my personal life and just in general with Jakks Pacific alone, the main line, the classic line figures, plush, and I'm still catching up on the Sonic Movie 2 merchandise, which probably would already be caught up if I actually edited and posted videos. But, you know, I'm a true YouTuber, so I don't actually post or record or edit anything. All joking aside and bashing on myself, we are going to be jumping into one specific wave, and it just so happens that I have most of the plush except for the Sonic in this wave, because that we'll be covering in another video, and I really don't need like a billion Sonics. But anyway, though, let's get started with our first plush being a brand new, and I believe the first plush of this species in the Sonic series, that being the Jade Wisp. Now, Wisps have actually been merchandised before, as there was a Sonic Colors figure by Jazzwares, and it had the Burst Wisp as well as Yacker. However, I believe there hasn't been any plush of Wisps, which is very surprising because we've had so many different Chow plush, and we've had Flicky plush, but even though Wisps have been around for about a decade, we've barely gotten any merchandise of them, even when they were super popular in colors and a little bit afterwards. The Jade Wisp specifically is the newest Wisp in the family, and while you might think that this guy's first appearance is in Sonic Colors Ultimate, which is his first mainline game, his first appearance is actually in Team Sonic Racing. I don't know why, but it bothers me that people think that it's Ultimate. Probably because I'm a Sonic nerd and I like spewing information. But the original reason why this guy was created was to actually be a clone item to the Boo, or equivalent item to the Boo, from the Mario Kart series, as Team Sonic Racing's Wisps were pretty much one-to-one, except for a few of them, like the Earthquake that debuted in Sonic Lost World. But the Eagle, also from Lost World, was more of like a red shell. Well, Earthquake, I guess, was more like the bees from Sonic and Sega All-Stars Racing. Either way, we're not talking about those other ones, we're talking about this guy. So in Team Sonic Racing, what this guy would do is he would make you invisible. I don't remember if he would steal items, but I don't think so, because you could share items with your other teammates in that game. But inside of Sonic Colors Ultimate, he was added as a way to make you invisible and be able to go through solid walls. You couldn't go past the invisible boundaries, at least that was intended, and if you did, you would just fall into the void and just you would just have to cross your fingers that you actually died from it and didn't find a random invisible plane that you got stuck on, or hoping that you had collected another Jade Wisp before that. Well, that wouldn't work. But you guys get what I'm saying. Hoping that there's some sort of way to escape, or you're pretty much soft locked, which is very unfortunate. But because of this guy, they did actually change some of the red ring locations so that you could go and get a red ring. For the most part, they pretty much did this by having different portals that you could zip through, but again, because they had some of these out of bounds and they didn't have the time to really polish everything from the changes, you had some kind of wonky stuff going on. All in all, though, the Jade Wisp has a pretty nice design, and, well, why don't we open him up and see what he looks like? Alright, he is no longer shiny and transparent like he would be if you were using his power. He is now his normal form, just before Sonic pokes him, and you stay away from him. We're doing a plush review, Sonic. Don't grab his Wisp powers. That would be bad for the video. Alright, so looking at the Wisp, he's pretty basic, being kind of just a sheet Like, it kind of looks like when you have those old-timey ghost costumes and you just put two holes in a bedsheet and throw it over your head. Except this guy, he went the extra mile and he dyed it green. Because I guess ectoplasm, instead of having two holes for eyes, he has this mouth that kind of looks like it's from the pumpkin from Pumpkin Hill, which works very well for him. And it's both cute and spooky. Just the right amount for a Sonic character. The mouth in and of itself has an outer layer where it's more of a knitted, stitched type of feeling to have the inside be more of a black void, which is kind of a rougher fabric. Makes sense if it's, you know, an endless void and a powerful ghost. The rest of the plush is made of a softer material. It's not too soft. I mean, you can't really make it feel like a ghost because you can't feel a ghost, and you can't really make it like a wisp because how does a wisp feel? Probably not soft. I've always imagined a wisp had kind of like a very smooth skin type of feeling. You know, like this is gonna sound so stupid, but like a bald person's head, it always gives me that kind of vibe of that's what the texture would be, especially Yacker. So it's probably a good thing that they didn't model the texture after some bald dude. And because it's a plush, ended up making it nice and fluffy. There's not too much going on with this guy, but he does have a little bit of a ghost trail for hair, which is very adorable. And then the bottom is a little bit of a skirt, which they have made ruffled. I don't know if this is on purpose, but it does look like it. But it is very interesting to see that they did that so that they have the free-flowing movement of how he would look in the game, which is pretty cool. Other than that, we have the little legs that he has. This part is more of a regular fluffed out tail, being closer to what Yacker is like, except it's a little bit shorter, and you do have the fluff there. The arms themselves, instead of being fluffed, they're actually just a flat piece of fabric that is stitched on there and just coned so that he can scoop ice cream and stuff. That's what the Jade Wisp's actual power is. Not to be a ghost, but to be a great server at Baskin Robbins. It's time to go into the other plush, which I think I'm going to sandwich this with a plush we've already seen before, which is Mighty the Armadillo. Originally debuting in the Sega Sonic Arcade, this guy is pretty much just a Sonic clone. However, he's an armadillo, and a lot of people love him. He also made his return inside of Sonic Mania, as many of you guys know, in the animated shorts, and as a playable character that can ball up. And I haven't really played him, but supposedly he can destroy spikes by just going bonk. I don't know regular spikes or ice spikes, but he also does have a thing where if he touches regular spikes and he doesn't do his bounce power up, he gets one free hit where he bounces off, but if you stay on the spikes, you do still get hurt. Now, the reason why I still wanted to show this guy, despite having a plush video of him up already, and even though I don't have that one with me because it's at home, I wanted to show him because he is a little bit different from the original. Mostly being that they actually stuffed him more and just gave him more fluff so that he's not a 2D type of plush. A lot of these plush, well, remade, they are more fluffed, as you can see with the Sonic. But you can see that the intention is to have him be a little bit more flat. That was originally what Mighty was like, but it felt really strange to have him be that flat, considering that his in-game counterpart has his shell very curved. So I really like that they decided to fluff this back part out. The other interesting thing I'm noticing is that it's only this back shell. They've actually cut the seam so that the front isn't puffed out and is just a regular piece of fabric, which I guess is probably a little bit easier to put together. Though when you're looking at him front facing, it's a little harder to notice that anyway. Since we're already on this, I do find it interesting that instead of having a curve, it's actually just spiked downwards into a triangle going into his eyes. I guess that's probably why they didn't want to have it curve, because they didn't want him to have eye problems where it was poking into his unit eye. How would that work? Would he have to like blink both eyes? Cuz it's not like, I think they have two different eyelids even when they have the unit eye. So does he actually have feeling there? Or is that just a weird like placeholder thing? We need to know, is there feeling in the unit eye part? This this is going down to the does Meta Knight have fingers debate. Going from there, we have his muzzle, which is fairly stuffed. It has more of that stiffer stuffing than how the other ones do, which makes the muzzle a lot more puffed out and makes the plush a lot less 2D. I really like this because as much as I like these plush, one of my biggest complaints was that they just felt very flat, and that didn't really make sense. Even for the classic characters, it just felt weird to me. The other thing that's a little bit more puffed out is his stomach, but this is more of a softer one. As you can see, you can actually give him CPR if he's not breathing. Because of course that's what I would think of. And he does have a little bit of a divot on his belly. The other parts of this plush, we have the black fabric, which is more of a softer fabric, being a little bit closer to how the Jade Wisp is. And then we do also have the arms, which is the same as the belly's fabric. And then you also have his mighty hands. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Surprisingly, he doesn't punch, as far as I know. But these themselves are pretty much same fabric as this, just puffed out. And you do have a little bit of stitching to mark out the fingers, and the other side doesn't have that, which is very interesting. Last on the list, we do have his tail, and we also have his kicks. The bottoms themselves are that rougher fabric, and then of course, as Jakks specifically loves to do, the top part is that latex balloon type of fabric. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if they did take a balloon, like a recycled balloon, and they just put it on there. Or maybe like, I would say a disposable glove, but it doesn't have that like dusty feeling to it. And then, of course, these straps also have the same as the eye or the gloves. So that is good almighty. Really good plush in my opinion. And if you are looking for a version of him, I would suggest getting this version, unless you do want the flatter version, then you can get him. And last but not least is our last new plush of this wave, which is Ray the Flying Squirrel, who is basically a personified version of the Mario World cape. If you think I'm kidding, first of all, he's yellow. Second of all, his power in Sonic Mania Plus is to literally be the cape from Mario World and just go whew, whew, whew. Which, if you know, I accidentally threw him. Which, if you know anything about me, you would know that this is a character I have no interest in playing, because as many people that love the cape from Mario World, I don't like it. I know that's a hot take, but I didn't grow up with it, so I don't know how to use it, and I'm jealous of the people who do know how to use it. So therefore, I just really have no desire to play as Ray, even though he has a pretty nice design. Now this guy is also from the Sega Sonic arcade, which that pretty much boiled down to Sonic, Mighty, and Ray being kidnapped by Eggman, and Eggman chasing all of them with a weird machine of him trying to eat them with metal teeth. So I guess maybe if Eggman's thinking if he was a robot, he wouldn't just want to kill them, he would want to eat them. Little strange, but I mean, go for it, I guess. Maybe he's got like a boiler in the mouth, so he'll cook them, and then he'll actually eat them. But it's also weird because he puts them in cages, so he already captures them, takes them to his lair, and I guess maybe they're able to escape, or it's exploding. I'm not sure because I've never played the game. But they're pretty much trying to run for their lives, and while these guys are early characters who are pretty much just clones of Sonic, they have come into their own thanks to Sonic Mania Plus and Sonic Mania Adventure. And of course, we do also have the famous missing poster from Sonic Generations with both Mighty and Ray on it. So let's look at the plush himself. So if we go to the top, he has a little bit of hair, which is really cute. It's like a preschooler haircut. He's got a little spike there and a little spike there. Oh, you know what? It's more like a Sonic Underground haircut, now that I think about it. Except instead of it being this way with the spikes, it's up. So I guess if Sonic ever became Super Sonic in Sonic Underground, he would probably look like this, which is kinda neat. He also does have some Sonic ears, which does make sense because he is based on Sonic's character. These ears themselves are fairly flat. There's absolutely no stuffing in them, but they are fairly small, even smaller than Sonic's ears, actually. The outside is the same fabric as the regular plush, but if you go onto the inside, you have that rougher inside ear, and then you have a little bit of that outside knitting stitching type that's always on the eyes. The eyes are pretty much the same as the other plush, but the pupils are a little bit smaller to make him look maybe a little bit cute, or like he had some coffee and he's just super energized and he's like, I'm gonna fly! Whee! Because he seems like he'd be somewhere in the energy level of above Tails but below Charmy. From there, he has a really big sniffer. I don't know why it's so huge, but it is. And this is going upwards, I guess to signify that he's going up into the clouds. And that, of course, is that same rough texture. You do also have the muzzle, which is not nearly as stuffed as Mighty's is in the cheeks, but it does go out a little bit more in the front. And you do also have his smile, which is huge. So yeah, somebody gave this guy like coffee or sugar or something. He does also have the stomach part, which is a little bit stiffer. There's not a lot of fluff in there, but I guess to make him look a little bit thinner, which does make sense. And of course, those parts are a little bit darker, being the colors closer to shadow. Other than that, we do have the arms, which unfortunately this arm is very flat. I'm guessing the stuffing somehow got smushed out of it from me moving this guy around so much, which is very unfortunate. But we do have this arm stuffed, and on the back we do have the Mario cape. So he tackled Mario, cut his cape off, and put it on his arms. That's not genetic, that's... Do I make the pun? That's armed robbery. And then his hands are not as stiff as Mighty's. Mighty's was stuffed to be in a way where it was, if you smushed it, it didn't really do much. But this guy, if you smush it, it's closer to Mighty's stomach, which is very strange to me that that's how this works. But it is probably to make his hands look a little bit flatter, since he is supposed to be kind of a weaker character and more of a fly type. And of course, you do have his hands being stitched with the fingers up above and then not below. Other than that, you have his tail, which I actually really love his tail. It's very floppy and very lemurish. This in and of itself is not stitched anywhere, so you can move it around, you can have it wag. If he sees the Mighty plush, you could just have him wag his tail in happiness. And this in and of itself is not stiff at all. It is probably the softest part of the plush and also the fluffiest part, which is just really, really neat. From there we have the legs, which are pretty well stuffed, and of course the socks being the rougher texture, and the shoes, which are closer to Mighty's, just with 2 straps and the blue latex balloon. So yeah, that is the Wave 6 or Wave 7 of the Sonic Jakks Pacific plush. If you guys enjoyed, make sure to hit that like button. Let me know who is your favorite out of these three plush. I guess if you want, because Sonic is a part of this wave technically, you can also mention him. Sorry, I'm just trying to get a good thumbnail right now because that is extremely important to make sure to get. Oh, Mighty is a little bit high there. But yeah, I do find it very strange that they decided to put these characters all together. It's not the biggest deal. It's more so just that having the Jade Wisp in there doesn't really make that much of sense. But I guess they figured, why not do two new plush, but make one of them easier to make and cheaper to make? So in hindsight, I guess that does make sense. But yeah, that's all of them. I think my favorite plush here is probably the Ray one. It's very cute. I really like the color yellow. And it's fairly well made. I do like the redesign for Mighty. And of course the Jade Wisp. The Jade Wisp is also very nice. So, like I said, if you guys enjoyed, hit that like button, share this out with everyone you know and love. Brother, mother, sister, father, iguana, and I hope to see you guys in the next one. Alright guys, keep your toes safe and whoosh! Oh, that's cute. That might actually end up being the thumbnail. Oh, that's really good. Yeah, I like that. All right, guys. Bye.